Star Trek The Next Generation, Season 1, Episode The Naked Now, which I guess is technically Episode 3 because Encounter at Farpoint is Episodes 1 and 2. So The Naked Now on Blu ray. Here we go. They include the original episodic promos that were like the TV commercial for each episode, and they're like VHS quality, and they're so cheesy. Look at this.
Star Trek The Next Generation. They're all dead. A contaminated ship is spreading a strange disease.
Let me know if this part brings back nostalgic feelings from watching this on TV.
On Star Trek The Next Generation.
Remember that? All right, so thank you for joining me on this Star Trek review per day. So this is April 1st's review. I just want to say a few things about this episode. One, I don't really like this episode. This is not a real repeatable one for me. I think if I wasn't doing a review for it, I would probably skip it on 9 out of 10 watch-throughs of the series, and I'm not going to show this episode to my kids. However, one great thing about it, other than the humor, is it looks so good on Blu-ray. This is some of the best money I've ever spent. Do not watch these on streaming. They look so good on Blu-ray. All right, so here's one of the reasons why I'm not going to show it to my kids, but there's all these frozen bodies. So all these frozen bodies look like they just have like the fake Christmas spray snow that people used to put on their trees sprayed all over them. And the funny part is that a lot of them, if you just look at them, you can just see they're breathing. It's like it's not even hidden. It's just breathing, just full on breathing. Probably because they're like, we're going to finish this on VHS and put it on TV. No one's going to be able to tell. Also, they're all supposed to be like naked and stuff, and you can see that they're wearing underwear, or they're strategically their hands covering parts. But yeah, this is also a very awkward and funny part right here. Okay, I love the intro to this series, and one thing I realized last time when I was watching this is that Saturn actually looks really, really close to what it looks like through a telescope. I've looked at, like in astronomy classes, I've looked at Saturn through really high power telescope, and it actually, I mean, I don't know if it shows it, you can really tell on the phone here, but it actually looks like what it looked like in the telescope. So it's, to me, that looks real on the screen, even though it's like a simple computer generated image, but looks like what I saw in the telescope. All right, so Geordi was on the away mission and obviously got in contact with whatever's making the crew act funny. So he's been confined to sick bay, but he's not strapped down or anything. So he just takes his badge off and... Where's he going? Where are you going, Geordi? He just wanders off. So I get that, like, he has to wander off so the plot can happen, but it's like, if you guys confine someone to sickbay and they're acting really weird, maybe actually confine them to sickbay, you goobs. All right, so this show is notorious for just the extreme level of detail on everything, from the tiny props they use to all the panels to the computer screens. And anytime in these kind of shows when words come up, I want to know what they say. So on this part right here, while the Klingon words pop up, I don't know if you saw it just then. So the Klingon words pop up. So right there, you can see the Klingon letters. And of course, the internet has the Klingon alphabet. So there's a whole bunch of them. And we looked at it as best we could, but to me, I think it just looks like gibberish. Like it ends up just looking something like that, just on repeat. But I will never feel like searching for hidden Klingon words on the internet is time wasted, so I'm glad I at least found that out. My wife helped me too. Some of the season 1 early uniform choices are interesting to see, but I'm glad when they finally go away. Like the engineering jumpsuit and the man skirts. I was happy when those disappeared. And honestly, the whole season 1 and 2 uniforms with the small ribbon of color on their shoulders, I think those don't look as good as in season 3 when they get like the belt and it's more like a top and bottom, like on these kind of uniforms. So kind of season 3, the uniforms look a lot better. It's like more comfortable and professional looking, whereas these are kind of silly. So yeah, awkward costuming in the first 2 seasons. All right, speaking of costumes, I'm not going to show the rest of her costume on here because this is not that kind of channel. But she's trying to seduce Data. Look at her hair. Look at this thing. Look at that. Now that is sexy. Yeah. Look at us. Well, I think I found the secret to get a bunch of subscribers. It's irresistible. So Deanna Troi is affected and is, of course, going after Riker, as is the promiscuity seems to be the point of this thing. But check Riker out here. Classy.
Getting you to sick bay.
Aww.
Would you rather be alone with me? With me in your mind?
Look at that. That's classy, Riker. He just carries her off to sickbay instead of, doing what more brutish men would do. Way to go, Imzadi. All right, here we go. So they do actually learn and get some dadgum straps on someone who's a risk to themselves and the crew. Also, side note, I love these, the medical screens in particular, like from the original series, but also this series. Like sometimes you're like, oh, okay, there's the pulse, there's this, but there's just like so much random stuff. It's like, it's tracking their physiology. All right, now I love every time there's the commercial break musical crescendo, but this one in particular is just great. So he's touched Troi and now touched her, and so they're all infected. And here we go.
The command computer back online soon. None of this, whatever this is, will matter. We'll all be dead.
All right. So Star Trek very often has moral lessons, and this one is it's right on the nose. So obviously this disease that they got from the other ship is causing basically drunkenness. But now here's a lesson from Captain Picard, the world's TV dad.
You mean I'm drunk? I feel strange, but also good.
Because you have lost the capacity for self-judgment. Now, alcohol does this, Wesley. But the contaminant we brought back from the Tsiolkovsky does it even more so.
So it's like, might as well just look at the camera and be like, alcohol can lower your judgment. It's like, thank you, 90s TV. I feel better. Actually, this is 1987. But I watched it on reruns in the 90s too. So thank you. I feel informed and moralized. So maybe I should show my kids this episode.
Beverly.
Oh, look at that. Look at that. This is what I want out of this series. I'm not going to lie. Out of this whole series. This. But just that little Picard skip through the door is just priceless. Okay, serious side note. This being what I want for this series, there is a novella called Q Are Cordially Uninvited. It is about their wedding, and it is awesome. You should read it. I love any time in Star Trek when they have Data doing things in like super fast motion. And right now he's trying to put these isolinear chips back in the computer. And clearly they just filmed him taking them all out, and now they're playing it back forwards really fast. But I love it when he encrypts things really fast, or when he does anything just like super fast like this. Data superpowered. All right, now I love explosions, and I love movie explosions, and I specifically love sci-fi movie explosions. And one of the things that I love about said explosions are chunky explosions. And perfect example of a chunky explosion would be like Sebulba's pod racer getting destroyed in Star Wars Episode 1, or in Star Trek 6, the Bird of Prey exploding, where you just see all the pieces of the model flying everywhere, or like Jabba's sail barge, you see pieces flying everywhere. So I love chunky explosions, but I know that when I don't get a chunky explosion, I know there's a reason for it. So check out, here's the Tsiolkovsky blown up. And there's something about that explosion you may have noticed. There's no chunks. It's just all fire. Now it's cool. I love me an explosion. But when I see it in shows like this, what it's telling me is that they didn't want to blow up a model. So they decided to just lay the fire effect over the top, which is cool. But I always like chunks in my explosions, personally. So the ship is safe. Everyone's cured.
I'm only going to tell you this just once. It never happened.
Here's the final moral lesson of this episode.
I think we shall end up with a fine crew. If we avoid temptation.
Good advice for any day. Love it. All right, as far as the special features on disc 1 of this thing, this one right here, this thing Energized, is amazing and essential and absolutely worth your time, and I've probably watched it like 5 times. It is a special feature on how they got Next Generation onto Blu-ray, all the scanning and recompositing and restoring and searching for film. That is a fascinating special feature, and it shows the work that they truly put into this. Speaking of which, they did a lot of work on here. I really, really hope that they scanned it in 4K, because I would love this show to be on 4K. It looks great on Blu-ray, but my goodness, I could just imagine it looking perfect on 4K. Okay, so The Naked Now, technical episode 3 of season 1. This is a cringy episode that I don't really like, that I'm not going to show my kids. However, that being said, as you may have noticed, it's Star Trek The Next Generation. So even a bad episode, which I would argue this is a bad episode, has good things in it. So every episode of this show is worth watching. Absolutely worth watching. But this one's just not as repeatable for me. So yeah, so even episodes I don't like, there's parts in it I do like. So anyway, thank you for watching if you did. And let me know what you think, if you have any criticisms or what you thought of the episode. And we'll see you next time. We got 29 more Star Trek related reviews to go for the month of April. So let's go. Beam aboard the fun ship.